Hey YouTube friends, I'm at the Anthracite Outdoor Adventure area with Off-Road Consulting, and we are about to do the BA Trail, and I believe that stands for Bad Attitude, but it might be Badass, I could be wrong. The BA Trail starts at this aqueduct, and initially when I came here it was actually pretty hard to find, so I thought today I would talk a little bit about trail navigation and how to basically figure out if you're on the trail and how to not get lost. So I've talked about it in other videos before, but I haven't really ever actually focused on it. I've just sort of touched on it. So to start with, you can use an app like MAPRIKA or Maplets or GAIA or even Google Maps, and all of them basically have like a GPS on them, and they will put a little dot on the screen, just like when you're driving around Google Maps, showing you where you're at. With MAPRIKA and Maplets specifically, people make overlays, like this overlay that you can see right here, and the dot which should be showing you where the trail is. But you cannot use like MAPRIKA or Maplets for everything, because as you saw, the lines are a little bit off. GPS is only so good. So like if you look at the blue trail on the right, you'll see that we went along the thin line, which is to the right, and we didn't do the little lower part where you can see the squiggle. So obviously, if you were using Maplets at that time, you would have known to look for something on the left rather than looking for something on the right. But once again, the lines, you don't follow the lines exactly because GPS is only so accurate. So obviously you can tell just by looking at this that this is a trail and what's to the right is not a trail. So you have to use your eyes, not just like an electronic app. You can't just think, oh, I have an app and I'm going to be able to find my way around the whole park. It doesn't really work like that, or I'm going to find my way around the wilderness. Then the other thing some people ask about is they ask about well, how does that app work in remote locations, like say this one? Well, the app uses GPS. GPS is available from the satellites. It always works. You don't need to have your phone connected to AT&T or Sprint for your GPS to work. You do need the maps though, which means that basically you want to download the maps in the parking lot or at home or something and get all the maps on your phone well ahead of time. So then when you're out in the woods, you can use the app. Because you can't download the app with no signal, you can't download maps without no signal, but you can use it with no signal all day without any kind of problem. You can use all those apps, and most of them have a download feature. So here for instance is a good example. Do you go to the left or do you go to the right? And obviously you saw a vehicle go to the right, but you can see that there's tire tracks going to the right. So tire tracks would be one of the clear indicators to tell you to turn right here. So then, once again, you're looking around, there's some interesting rocks to the right and there's some interesting rocks to the left, but it's still not clear which way to go. So maybe this would be a spot where it'd be helpful to look, at Maplets or MAPRIKA to get a general sense of does a trail go left or does a trail go right. The other thing you want to look for is ribbons. And you can see there's a ribbon on the left side of that Jeep. It's a little tiny pink thing that's on the tree that's barely visible. There's not that many ribbons on this trail, but the newer trails have lots of ribbons. AOAA uses ribbons to identify where the trail is. So obviously you can see that ribbon between that Jeep, the Jeep in front of us. There's actually a ribbon on the tree on the left, and the ribbon just indicates that the trail's over here. It doesn't say you have to go on the left side of the tree or the right side of the tree. It just says over here, go over here. And you'll see that a lot of these trails are pretty wide, and it's pretty liberal on which set of rocks that you go over. The next thing that you want to look for, other than tire tracks and ribbons, because if you're out here by yourself and you're looking around, it would be kind of a little bit confusing trying to figure out where to go. And honestly, I don't think we're actually fully on the trail. I think we should be over a little bit on the rocks. Would be looking for damage on the trees. So you want to be looking, if you're not really 100% sure which way to turn, for places where Jeeps have rubbed the trees. And if I see a good example of that, I'll show that to you. It may not be super easy to see. Right there on the right, you saw that there was a spot that was kind of where the tree was damaged. Right there on the left in front of me, you can see there's a spot on the tree where people have rubbed. If you see those on the trees, then you know that that is definitely the direction in which the trail goes. So you can see right here how difficult it can be, but you know, I've navigated through these trails before, but I've done it before. There's another ribbon, so the ribbon is once again an indicator that we are going in the right direction. You know, so between the apps, kind of giving you some hints, and then looking at the trees, like at the ribbons, and also looking at the damage like on the trees, and looking for obviously tire tracks. That's like clear indicators. The other thing you want to look for is white marks on top of rocks. The white marks are where people have rubbed like the bottom of their Jeep on the rocks, and there's another ribbon right there. The white marks are clear indicators of things that you want to avoid. Usually if you see a white mark on a rock, like you can see that there's probably a little bit of white marks here, that's usually where you want to put your tires. So there's a tire placement tip. If you see some white marks, that would not be where you want to put your skid plate, or not the place you want to put your differential, because everybody else put it there and scratched. That would be like, it'd be much a better option to get your tires there, because that's probably the biggest spot on the trail, so you can make little V's. So obviously here you can see we're using the tire tracks ahead of us to figure out where to go. If you just ignore the fact that I'm following another Jeep, and you imagine that you're out here by yourself in the woods, or trying to lead a group, you know. And so, like, once again, like I said, you also want to look to see where the Jeep looks like it can fit, because these trails are designed for Jeeps. So that means that, like, they're not going to ask you to go places that you won't fit. So between the combination of like the white marks on the ground, the tire tracks, the ribbons are especially helpful. Using the GAIA app, or using the Maplets or the MAPRIKA app. And then if you're like in the middle of nowhere, like where it's not even a trail system, you can also use Google Maps. And for Google Maps, you'll need to download the map ahead of time, and I'll probably do a video on that just to show people, because a lot of people don't know how to do that. So with Google Maps, you can download like a big region, basically like half a state with every download, and you can have multiple downloads. So like for me, I have like North Carolina, South Carolina, part of Tennessee, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and New York, like in my phone, like the whole state. And you know, it sounds like a lot of information, but it's actually pretty small size-wise. I think it's like 500 meg or something. You know, do that too. That helps. You know, we're going to move on to the next blue trail at AOAA, which I believe is going to be the Excalibur Trail, and we will see you guys on the next trail. Thank you.